All right, welcome back to Two-Tone Tony's Garage. We're back on this 1990 two-wheel drive Ramcharger. Today what we're doing, we're still trying to get this thing roadworthy. Last time you seen me put wheels and tires on it, get it home. And time before that, you see me get it out of the tree line and get it running. So now it is running, it is driving, but I have to cycle the key a bunch of times to get the fuel pump to prime the motor. So I went ahead and got on Rock Auto, ordered me a fuel pump. And today, we're going to change the fuel pump in the tank. This is a little easier than a normal Dodge truck because the tank is in the center and the back. I've been soaking the strap bolts for about a week now, so they should be pretty good to go. So without further ado, I'm going to get the tools ready to go. We're going to get this tank dropped. We're going to go ahead and replace soft rubber lines while we're doing this, and the straps for the fuel tank. Unless these ones are in good shape. If these fuel straps aren't rusted bad, we're just going to leave them in here. But new line in there, soft line, put the new pump in. So I'll go ahead and get started. All right, so I got tools ready to go. Got an earthquake impact here with a 9/16 socket. We'll go ahead and crawl underneath here. So like I said, I've been soaking these bolts here for about a week or so. On these Ramchargers, it's nice. The tank's just right here in the back. So hopefully, without just snapping these things off, we can get them off here. Alright, let's see. Oh, bunch of junk. Well, it's coming, but then it spun. There we go. There's one. And in preparation for doing this as well, I've ran the tank pretty much out of fuel, which I did both accidentally and on purpose, but I was starting to use all my fuel up on my way home, and I just purposely didn't add any more to make sure this tank was as light as possible, so that way when it comes out, it's not full of 20 pounds of gasoline. It'd be a lot heavier. So, man, there's a lot of junk falling out of here. So, straps came down. I'm assuming the neck's holding it up because both the bolts came right off, which is nice. That means I can reuse these metal straps, return the other ones I already bought, save a little bit of money. Alright, I'm going to put the camera down here and wiggle this thing loose. Alright, so I actually got ahead of myself here. I need to get these two. This is your filler neck, and this is your vent there. I need to get both those two off also before I drop this tank. So I'm going to go ahead and get the... Hopefully they come loose okay without having to cut them, but if not, I'll just cut them and put new ones on. But I'm going to go ahead and get them out so I can get this tank dropped. Alright, so after I got those two hoses loose, I kind of wiggled them loose and tank came down. I didn't expect... the sending unit to come out of the tank, but it did. I don't know if it wasn't just strapped in there good enough or what the situation was, but it's literally hanging out of it. Not a lot of room in them lines, so I'm glad those didn't break up there. So I guess what I'm trying to say is when you go to do yours, don't let it come down so far, I guess, before you unhook these. I didn't realize it was that short a range. So I'm going to go ahead and undo all this so I can get this pump out of here. Alright, so I got these unhooked, and I know this probably isn't the right way to do it, but I don't have the tool for it. But I just carefully put a flat screwdriver underneath these where they pop on and slowly kind of wiggle it back and forth, work my way side to side until it pops off. I know there's a special tool for that, but I don't have it, so that's what I had to do. You can't really put the hoses back on wrong because there's two different sizes, so you don't have to worry about that too much, marking them or anything. But we're going to do our best to clean this whole thing up. Obviously, there was some kind of a muskrat or God knows what else, field mice basically, making its home above this thing. So, notice that there was a few upgrades made. By upgrades, it looks like some heater hose and some cheap parts store clamps, but so this has been out before, so maybe that's why it came apart a little easier, but Let's see if there's anything inside the tank too bad. And this clamp should have been holding it, but obviously it wasn't. It's supposed to be hose clamped in. Let's see if I can get this out without messing this thing up. There it comes. So there you go. There's your float and everything there. We're gonna have to take this apart to get down actually into the pump. You rest that little fuel, but the pump's actually down in this area here. So I'll have to take that apart. Hopefully the inside of this tank, being a plastic tank, hopefully it's not too nasty. I'm trying my best to not drop a bunch of junk down in there in the process. With that being said, I know I dropped this down in there, but it ain't good anyway. It's broke, but don't want it in the tank either. So from what I can tell, it doesn't look too bad down in there. So anyway, I'm gonna clean all this stuff off the top of this with the shop vac, and I'll work on swapping this pump out. All right, so this pickup deal here, clearly this just pops on. You just pop the metal line out of the side of it up here, and you kind of push in on this here little holder. The bottom pops off. This pump really doesn't look that old, and my friend that I bought this from, or traded for it I should say, told me he put this pump in it probably 10 years ago, but from sitting I'm assuming it took a crap. So I mean, the screen looks pretty decent and everything, so should be pretty much just a straightforward undo this hose clamp, hook the other one up, wire it up, drop it right back down in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Alright, so here we are back again. It took me a little time. Had to go find this O-ring here because that didn't come with the kit. It goes around the top of this new gasket. And luckily a buddy of mine had one of those. So we got that problem figured out. And then I got the new pump down in there and everything. Well, that brings me to my next dilemma. I figured out why the pump just kind of fell out and the whole tank came down. It turns out this V-band that holds the pump in the tank, both the tack welds that hold the clamp part to it, busted. And I don't know if they rusted away. It looks like rust on it to me, but so pretty much I'm gonna have to weld this clamp back together or find another one. Now I don't know anywhere else that there even sells a V-clamp, but this thing's stuck as well, so that's gonna be a fun thing to overcome. So before I can go any further with putting this tank back together, I have to get this unfrozen and then weld it back together. But on an odd note, it's kind of funny, Dodge must have thought most people were going to be doing this because it's got the old pick me up and carry me out of here handle, so kind of had to laugh that they actually put one of those in there. It must be planning on them going bad pretty often. So anyway, I guess I'm going to try to tackle this real quick and see what happens. Alright, so what I've done here, I got this broke free so it'll spin easy. So I have to weld this back onto this V-band here. So I'm going to drill through where these spot welds were, and then I'm going to use my welder to re-spot weld it and hope it actually works without melting this, because this stuff's like paper thin. But we're going to give it a shot and see what happens. Alright, so I got these tack welded back together, clamps back together, and I got the pump back in, clamp on. So now basically just set it up in the truck, hook the lines back up, and try to get this thing strapped in. Alright, so had the tank put back together, put it back up here. We put it on the jack, and I hooked the fuel lines back up, hooked the electronics back up. We used the jack to get up in there as far as we could, and I had to lay on my back and show it up the rest of the way. It's one reason why I couldn't really record why I did it. But it's up in there where it belongs, everything's hooked up. So now what I'm going to do is lower the jack back down, put it under the pumpkin, get the tires back on the ground. We're going to add some fuel, and we're going to see if everything's working as it should. I had my son cycle the key I can hear the pump running. I just want to make sure that there's no leaks and that the gas is running to the front. So hold on here for just a second. We'll do that. All right, so tank's back in. I went ahead and added about 5 gallons of gas to it. I don't want to put too much in it in case something does leak. I got to pull it back down. We're going to have to cycle the key a couple times, prime the pump, and hopefully she fires up for you. The question is, will it fire right back off? Which, if the pump's doing what it's supposed to, it should. There it is. All right, let's check down here for leaks. Well, no leaks. So we're good there. All right, so pump successfully replaced. Now I can go ahead and. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and finish tightening them bolts up on the gas tank straps. I didn't go all the way up with them, so I wanted to make sure that everything was kosher before I really torqued them down. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to go ahead and, I've mentioned soft lines at the beginning. I didn't realize there was no soft lines in the back of the truck because they're just pressure fitted lines, pressure fittings. So I'm going to go up here to where the fuel filter is. I'm going to pull the fuel filter out and replace those soft lines. I noticed they're pretty cracked and dry rotted. So that's the next thing I'm going to do. So, alright, we'll be doing that. Alright, so on these Ramchargers, the fuel filter here is on the left side of the truck on the frame rail. Now, not too crazy hard to get to. Where are we at here? Right there. So it's right behind the left front tire, pretty much up on the frame rail. Now, I didn't have access to the factory style with the 2 inlets on one side. So I'm going to try to adapt it to just your normal straight through steel filter. So I'm going to try to get this one down so that way I can get the other one up in there. So hang on here and we'll try to get it put it in. And in doing so, I'm also going to change the rubber lines. So hold on here just a minute and I'll get her done. Alrighty, so this was a 1/2-inch bolt which went into the frame there to get that off. And then these 2 hose clamps, I think were possibly stock ones. They were 7mm, and you can see how nasty these hoses were, which is why I want to replace them. They were just going to break and catch the truck on fire anyway. So I'm going to get this bracket off of this fuel filter here and try to put it on the one I'm putting on it. Then I'll put an inline filter in here real quick. So hang on here just a minute, we'll see what we can do. Alrighty, so it turns out this bracket is spot welded there. So the one you're supposed to get must come with a new bracket altogether. And like I said, no local parts store could find one. So I'm going to file this one away for later. And we're going to just put this new inline one in. And I will probably try to put a hose clamp around this. And then find a good place on the frame to put the hose clamp around to hold it in place. I imagine the hole the bolt went through to hold that other bracket should hold this to the frame just fine. And we'll be good to go. Alright, so I got the filter up in there, new line. Actually, I like it better straight through like it is. I was trying to figure out some kind of a bracket, and I have nothing right now, but honestly, it's pretty damn tight. It ain't going nowhere, so I think it's fine. I probably will try to figure out some kind of a bracketry or something, but at this point in time, I'm going to call it good. And I guess we'll fire it back up and make sure it's doing all the things it's supposed to do. And again, no leaks, but this makes me feel a lot better here. I also need to, at some point, do the soft line up by the motor itself. But these ones were pretty harsh, and this new filter should help out too. So I'll go ahead and crawl out of here and see what we ended up with. Alright, so the whole point of me doing the fuel pump was to make sure that the thing would self-prime and fire the first time I hit it. So let's go ahead and see if it will. I mean, I know there's technically about a foot of fuel line with no fuel, but let's hopefully see if it does what it's supposed to do here. I know it's already fired, but I've had it sitting for about an hour since I started it, and that should tell me if it's draining back or not. So, which maybe way better, way better. Oh yeah. All right. Well, I would call that success. Open this door up here so I don't get carbon monoxide poisoning, but very cool. So with all this progress, this thing isn't that much closer to being a daily driver. I guess all to do now is keep working on it little by little. I really need to clean the inside of this thing, so I haven't done that yet. And I've got to figure out why my speedometer doesn't work. Looks like the gas gauge works. After I added the 5 gallons, it came up a little bit of a ways. About an eighth of tank or so that's pretty cool. So it's cool to see that it's charging as well. Well, I'm gonna go take it out to the pasture and do a little test drive here. Alright, so I got out of the shop. I know I said I was gonna drive around the pasture, but I'm gonna take it for a little rip down the road real quick. I'm not gonna go too far because I don't want any risk of breaking down and walking. You've seen my physique and I don't like to walk, so let's see, just a quick little test drive. Just down by the neighbor's house probably, and then head back. I still think some of the shifter linkage needs adjusted, but not too bad, really. I really need to figure out the speedometer situation. The guy who owned it before me said it did work, so I'm kind of surprised that it's not now. But it is what it is, I guess. I would just like to know if it's a sensor on the transmission or if it's the actual speedometer that doesn't work. Alright, now we're just going to go ahead and turn around here. Like I said, just one of the neighbors and head back. So far it seems to be running pretty good. I know I say that every time and then something bad happens, so let's make sure nothing bad happens. We're still charging, heat's fine. Does seem to have a little bit of a miss in it. Oil pressure looks good. We'll have to dial that in later. I do think the timing needs adjusted a little bit. I didn't realize on these trucks that you need to unhook the temp sensor when you time them. So I will have to do that. Alright, so after the test drive I couldn't live with how poochy it was. I got my coolant sensor unhooked. I put a test light on it. And now I am at 12 degrees before top dead center. I know a lot of guys say to put them at 10, but I put them at 12. Before I checked it, it was at about 10 degrees before top dead center. So that's probably a lot of the reason it was poochy. I'm going to get the wrench back out and tighten up the hold down for the distributor, and we're going to go rip it one more time. Alright, so timing redone, got it fired back up. I don't know if it's true or not, but I was told every time you do something on these trucks, because of the way the computer's kind of primitive, you have to unhook the battery and let it reset itself. So I did that as well. Let's see if it makes any bit of a difference, but we'll take it for a drive and see what it does differently. Much of a difference. When I first fired it up, it seemed to fire up and idle a little smoother. And it's got a little bit more giddy up and go, I guess, too. Cool. And that window's whining like crazy. Gotta love wing windows. I love them, but at the same time, they always seem to leak and whistle like that. But yeah, if I get on it now, it really kind of gets up and goes. So yeah, I'd say it feels a little peppier. Turn her around again. Wonder if she'll make this turn. I'm so used to my bigger truck, and that thing takes 1.5 miles to turn. This thing is a little shorter, but it still doesn't turn very good. All right, we'll back her up. Yeah, definitely peppier. It's actually kind of surprising for a 318, to be honest with you. Seems to run pretty dang good. Man, that whistling is extremely annoying. I just opened the window a little bit so I can figure out how to make that stop. All right. Well, let's see if it'll squawk the tire now, shall we? Doubt it, but we'll see. I've got to do it before, and now it's good and warmed up, and ready? Oh, it's spinning it. One wheel wonder, but it did do it. As expensive as tires are, I probably shouldn't do that. But the kid in me says do it again, but I'm just going to do this time with no brake. Last time was with brake. We'll see if she'll even squawk off at all. Nope. So still not a rocket ship, but still a lot more better than before. So we're gonna go ahead and put her in the driveway before we do something stupid with it. All right, so there you have it. Successful fuel pump swap. Went ahead and changed those soft lines, changed the fuel filter, and the thing, it runs pretty good. I mean, obviously still needs some tune-up. It's kind of poochy, but I'm really using it for a daily driver. I'm not drag racing it, so it's come a long way from sitting in a tree line for over 10 years and not running right. So this is pretty dang successful. This time it didn't catch on fire, it didn't have an electrical malfunction, and it made it home without dying once. So I'm gonna call that a win. So keep watching. Please like, subscribe. We'll see you next time. I'm actually going to get started on a 1950 Mercury next. I'm planning on doing a chop. Might have a couple other little things in between, depending on how things play out. But 1950 Mercury, going to chop it, getting it ready for the road for next year. So, like I said, please like, subscribe, follow along. See you on the next project.